JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. August 14th, 2024, about 58 minutes to the close. Talk really quick about the markets. Some of the names I'm trading, some I'm looking at, and a little bit about tomorrow. Go from there, but take a look at the S&P. Right near the highs of the session right now, the SPY's at 544 and change. It hit nearly 545 at about 1145 before a quick pull down to 542, and we've been chopping ever since. So a good sign considering the CPI number was hyped up so much that I was a little nervous of a sell the news, especially with the move from the markets. The markets have had over the last 7 sessions. So impressive that it's holding ground. And then you take a look and the VIX is just getting demolished finally. So I was a little concerned the VIX holding that 2021 handle on Monday. And it just seems like maybe volatile. Some folks positioning just in case there was turbulence today, and that hasn't been the case. So good sign there. The only thing that's a little disappointing is the small caps. So I wish they were showing some strength. They're down. The IWM's down nearly 0.6%. Uh, Kind of disappointing there. Tomorrow we have retail sales data, so that'll be important. We have Walmart tomorrow, and then next week the big thing will be Jackson Hole, and people are going to start talking about it. You already see headlines. You know, it's I guess tradition that the Fed chair does the opening remarks, which would imply that Fed Chair Powell is going to speak next Thursday, probably noontime, or maybe it's in the afternoon. I'd have to check. I still haven't been able to find a date and a time yet, the exact timing, but that's traditionally what will happen. So could be interesting. I'm sure he's going to set the table for the cuts coming September. It's just a matter of is it plural? Is it just a quarter? Is it half percent? What does the rest of the year look like? And now, some other commentaries. Oh, now usually the Fed is dependent on full employment and inflation, right? Those are the mandates, having full employment and keeping inflation intact or 2%. And now with CPI data coming in at the lowest year over year level since 2021, now it's an employment first, right? So the unemployment number that's going to come out, well, actually, it's not going to see the unemployment number, so that won't be till September. But then the employment number is probably going to be front and center in these weekly jobless claims, which will also be out tomorrow. Could take a little more, I guess, have a little more people are looking at those more closely than they've been looking at in the past. All right, so there's the IWM, the 200-day moving average, just so frustrating. The 50-day, excuse me, to see the IWM not breaking through that. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday into the weekend would be nice. And then just take a look at this VIX, just a nasty decline on the VIX. Not nasty, but all things considered, we were at what 60 and change, or was it 80 back in last Monday? So good sign there. All right, so individual names, and first I'll talk about SE Limited. Nice move. It actually all the way up to 78.25 in the morning. Multiple upgrades this morning. You had well, actually, I have plenty now. JP Morgan raised their price target to $90 from 64, I believe it is. Reiterate upgrades to overweight. You also have Bank of America raising their price target. Wedbush raising their price target. Now I see TD Cohen raising their price target. Just just a great story. And the more I'm trying to do some more due diligence on the name to see to get a handle on where I think it could go. But I always talked about the tipping point for Roku back in the day when Roku was a $20 and $30 stock. They were able to transform from being just what folks thought as a hardware company to being a platform monetization company. So they took their platform, their hardware platform, got into customers' homes, and then were able to monetize it using advertisements, things like that. You take a look at SE Limited, and it used to be, it has three segments of their business. I've already talked about the gaming, the financial, and they have their e-commerce. And the e-commerce was one of these similar to what Amazon used to do, is they were worried about just scale, grow, get people Amazon Prime, deliver, to offer free shipping, and then subsidize that the costs associated with it with the money generating business. So in the case of Amazon, it was the AWS, right? The Amazon Web Services subsidized Amazon for quite some time until eventually they were able to. The scale got so large that on the e-commerce side that the profits start to roll in, the margins climbed up. So you have a similar story here with SE Limited. They're kind of, and I call it the tipping point, but they're going to be possibly cash flow positive on the Shopee platform business for the first time in the next quarter or two. So I think that bodes well. They already have they're showing 20% year-over-year growth, and that continues. And then they have the gaming side, which is doing phenomenal, and also the financial side. And I think I put it on FinTwit as well. If you take these segments away, they're multi-billion-dollar segments on their own. If they were just, let's say they were spun off, the financial business is probably 10 or 15 billion. The gaming side is probably 10 billion. And then you look at the e-commerce side. And so when you take a company that, it's what is it, 38 billion, they have $9 billion in cash. I can go on for a while, but I think there's a lot more upside here, especially if the market finds some footing into the fall. And Asia doesn't get all crazy. There's no geopolitical stuff with Taiwan and all that stuff. If that stuff's taken off the table, I think this trade's back over 100 in the coming weeks and months. So don't be surprised to see me add some more strikes. Lucky to, well, not lucky, but as I put on the watch list, took some of my strikes off, my August 30s off to cover costs for a little over 100%. I'll continue to look for opportunities to take a little bit more off. I'll probably wait till tomorrow, or before the end of the week, and then I might look for some more strikes to play it for a move over 80 bucks. You take a look at a long-term chart too. That 75 was a key area. It broke through that this morning, and now you start looking at some of these areas, and 85, 90, and then you can go all the way up to 130 back at the first couple months of 2022. I'm not saying that's where it goes in the next couple coming weeks, but I could see it going there in the coming months if the earnings that they just had continue the trend of the Shopee platform being profitable and these other areas growing. So enough of the SE Global rants. That's SE Global, SE Limited, excuse me. uh, DELL, nice move again this morning, all the way up to 104.37. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. I was talking about my targets. Well, I think it was Monday. 101 was the first one. So we hit that yesterday, locked some calls in, and then locked some of the 110 strikes in, and then 104.50 to 104.75. We got close to that today, 104.37. I locked some more of the 110s in, and I'll just hold the rest for now as long as it holds over 100 bucks. I have plenty of time on the strikes. And, I've talked about some of the moves, and you look at a stock, well, Nvidia is not the best apples to apples comparison for DELL, but if you look at the performance year to date, Nvidia has had a 100 and whatever percent return, and some of these other names like DELL have not enjoyed the same level of gains, and that's some of the reason why I liked it back in May. That I thought there was going to be some FOMO in the name. People are going to finally catch on that hey, DELL's definitely a play that probably has been underappreciated, is going to start getting appreciated by the markets. And they've said it already, but Nvidia at their big conference, GCC conference, back in the start of the year, you had Jensen calling out DELL as a partner and as a server of choice, the platform with the hardware of choice for folks. So I just think it bodes well. I'll continue to look for opportunities to play DELL for upside, but for now I'll just hold those 110s. But a nice trade so far. I think I added those calls at the end of last week and added those 110s this week. On the flip side, there's Baidu and just some of the China ADR names just not doing well today. I don't know if China stocks were kind of mixed overnight. Big news tomorrow morning will be the Baba earnings. I was looking at the premiums on the calls for next week. Pretty much all the Baidu strikes are cut in half. It's tough. I don't want to catch a falling knife here, so it'd be a double whammy here if I went and got the calls for next week, and then Alibaba reports abysmal quarter and it drops again. So I might just wait till tomorrow to add strikes into next week. If they report a great quarter, I'll get some calls. If they don't report a great quarter, depending on what that looks like, maybe Baidu drops back to 81 or so, or 80, which is the 52-week low, and then I'll look to add some strikes into earnings next week, because I think Baidu can do well despite Alibaba, right? I mean, sometimes they're kind of, Alibaba does well and Baidu would soar, but I think it'll do well regardless. So that's that. That's Baidu. PayPal and Square, I'm still looking for some strikes here, and PayPal is actually doing pretty well here this afternoon, back over 60. Well, it's nearing the level hit for earnings, the 67 handle. So maybe some spec calls tomorrow. So it's at 66.25 right now, because I think once 67 breaks, then it's on its way to 70. And then I say Square, but it's Block. Block found some resistance right up its 50-day moving average, 63 and change. If you can find its a way through that, maybe I'll look for some strikes there. Yeah, VKTX. I said it on the rant this morning. It's just so frustrating. It was frustrating when it was a $6 stock, $8 stock. It's been frustrating ever since its data back in March. it's every time it looks like it's ready to go, the next day it finds some reason to sell off, or not even some reason, it just sells off. I think that's 70 handle. Once that breaks, off to the races. Some of the other names, I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Look at Trupanion. Oh man, I used to go on rants all the time. Trupanion was one of my favorite stocks. It's kind of some of the reason why it led me to well, not to post on it too much on Facebook, because I used to get destroyed by a contingent of shorts who just, and they continue to this day still say Trupanion's a zero. And to me it's so they just reported earnings last week or the week before, uh kind of dispelling pretty much all the short narrative that they've come up with over the years. If you don't know, Trupanion, it's the leading pet insurer in the United States. My bull case on Trupanion over the years has been that it's uh, the total addressable market for pet insurance is huge. If you take a look at some of these other countries like the UK, it's like a 40 or 50% penetration. In the US, it was single digits, but that's starting to change. You have, Lemonade and all these other insurers coming on board pet insurance because they see an opportunity. And here's Trupanion, who has the technology already in place. It's a very easy to use in the office. People always used to talk that Trupanion was traded like a tech company, but uh, anyway, there's a lot of loopholes when it comes to insurance. So when you're insuring uh, a human, there's regulations, and all these states have regulations. You have to have a certain amount of capital set aside. The way you sell insurance and advertise is regulated. And Trupanion had some violations, but every company goes through hiccups as they grow, right? So they used to write these big bear pieces. Oh, state attorney general is going to sue Trupanion or whatever, and it'd be like a $50,000 fee or fine, and then it'd be business as usual. Trupanion would fix the issue and move on. So it's always like these narratives, and then the most recent narrative was back during COVID. A lot of people got pets, so they signed up, and then I'm trying to remember. And then you had the inflation concerns. So vet offices, it costs a lot more to take care of pets, medicines price, all that went up. So in turn, the profits for Trupanion were going down. So they had to raise premium prices. So the big bear case was that people, number one, were going to leave them, right? They're going to leave, and people weren't going to pay. And I'm trying to think what my other rational. There was other points to my argument, but needless to say, it turned to be a flip side. People stayed. They raised the prices. They're still gaining a share, and it just their margins go. I'm trying to remember. They were complaining. They were saying Trupanion was raising prices, but they're like contracts. They're ah, anyhow, rants for other days. But it's sitting here at $42. Just impressive. I wish I had added calls before earnings. It's one of those names, huge short interest. It continues to, if the shorts continue to have to cover, I 50, $60 is not out of the cards, right? So, and not only that, these insurers, they're comparing Trupanion to typical human insurers, right? Pet insurance and human insurance is the same if you're a bear, right? But it's not. The cost, everything is different. So people like to use the same. They like to carbon copy the fundamental analysis of an insurer for humans, and just carbon copy that and use that to value a pet insurance company, and it just doesn't work. Well, I mean, it works if you're a bear because the multiples are totally different, but when you're a pet insurer, it should be valued differently. But the bears say no. I say yeah, but which to me means that the valuation is skewed. I think there's much more upside. Rants for other days. Let's have a great afternoon. I tried to record the rant this morning and I accidentally hit delete. So hopefully I do it right today. I'll post it if you only caught a bit of this. Let's have a great afternoon, folks. I'll rock and roll.